Yeah, I'll bring up two things. The first point is what you bring up essentially. I don't know a lot about this stuff. I'm in the movie business, and a lot of movie studios will tend to want to buy up smaller movie studios, or when the big movie studios want to buy up other big movie studios. Uh, this happens, right? They get into the mix of it, and they realize, all right, this is not going to work, and it all kind of falls apart. The only other kind of reference I know is I watch a lot of Shark Tank, and I don't know if you know this, but when they agree on a deal, the sharks are allowed to later, after the show, look at the books and look at everything and then back out of the deal if they don't like what they see. So this kind of seems like a situation like that. As far as Elon goes, this is the perfect example of um, you could fly under the radar and not have your life affected, but you want the power and you want the glory and you want the ego. And then all of a sudden now people start to hate you, and then Tesla stocks drops, and nobody wants you to have Twitter, and millions of users are quitting Twitter because you're joining it, and it's the same thing with Trump, right? Trump could have been. I always say this about him. I don't know if I've told you or said it on the pod. Trump could have been the greatest version of Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson that ever existed. He could have got a TV show on Fox, rode that wave to celebrity to rich, and not be under six different grand juries right now and criminal indictments all over this country, right? But he couldn't resist going after the power, right? But he could have had a perfect life and not been in any legal trouble if he just stayed out of the limelight, right? And same thing with Elon Musk here. Elon Musk is worth over 200 billion, I think. He could easily just live a life of doing whatever he wants with no consequences, and he tries to go at people, right? Twitter. I know Twitter is a business, but it's the reason all this is happening is because people are sick of him, and there's going to be a backlash. I know two people anecdotally who refuse to buy Tesla because of Elon. I know people who are my gen. I won't say my generation. The generation after my generation are making purchases based on moral and ethical reasons. There's a lot of companies now who have moral and ethical kind of clauses where you buy one thing and we send a pair of socks to an inmate. And a lot of these companies now have kind of these moral and ethical kind of features because that's what this generation cares about. And so here we are with Elon. He's never going to really get in any trouble for any of this stuff. He's just going to make his life more miserable, and yet he can't stay away. So I personally hope this all falls apart, and I personally hope he's selling wolf tickets, as you said, um, because that's what I feel like we need. That's what he deserves on some level.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, going back to us, I agree with all of what you just said, but I want to go back to the whole this is something that we're paying attention to and that many of us are new to. I think Elon's biggest mistake is he's live tweeting this whole takeover. I bet you if we were to look at corporate takeovers and how people maneuver and make things happen, I wouldn't be surprised, again, as I said before, if this isn't a little bit more par for the course. However, the problem is that when most people do this, they're not live tweeting it. And there's probably lots of, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys. It's a dead deal. And then the next day, it's really intense. It's very close to happening. And something falls apart. And then 6 months later, I bet you that while a lot of us are, relishing it and dunking on them every time there's a setback, I bet you there's a lot of corporate takeovers that have as many ups and downs and setbacks, but they're not being played out on the timelines of Twitter. And so, but I think the other thing though too is to the point what you said about Tesla. He's losing a lot of Tesla value again, like you just said. You and I are not experts, but we don't have to be experts to read that. Evidently, he guaranteed some of the loans he was taking out for the financing with Tesla stock, and I think that there was a threshold that it couldn't drop underneath, and I think it's at that threshold right now. So whether it's the mischief makers who are going ahead and just trying to wreak havoc on his Twitter stock or what have you, he's definitely running into problems.